Hello, everyone. I thought I would share with you all a book that I created. I like, and it's called The Imperfects by me, Kindwyn Hoge. And the aliens came for the perfect. They left the rest behind. Now the people society overlooked must uncover the truth behind the harvest and prove that humanity's greatest strength was never perfection, but difference. So my book's called The Imperfects. And so I thought I'd just read you the first chapter. And this book is dedicated for everyone who has ever been told they were too different, too broken, or not enough. For the ones who felt overlooked, underestimated, or left behind. You were never the problem. Your differences are not flaws, and they're the very things that make this world stronger. And this story's for you. So I created this all. And then here's another thing. The ones the world calls broken are often the ones who learn how to rebuild it. So just something maybe to think about, everybody, Anyway, so chapter 1, let's do The Day the Sky Closed. So I thought I'd read a chapter. The Taking. Part 1, The Taking. The day the sky chose. Okay. Rowan Hale noticed the sky first, because Rowan always noticed systems, not the dramatic stuff people like to point at. Shooting stars, fireworks, sunsets that look like spilled paint. Rowan noticed patterns. The way streetlights flickered in the same order every evening. The way the school bus hissed longer when the air got cold. The way the ocean wind pushed through the house in steady pulses like it was trying to communicate in a language only weather understood. That morning the pattern broke. The light outside didn't feel wrong at first. It was still pale, still the same coastal gray that made everything look a little soft around the edges. But the sun didn't climb the way it should have. It hovered behind the clouds like it had forgotten its job. Rowan sat at the kitchen table, one hand around a mug of tea that had long stopped steaming, the other hand held a pen, tapping the edge of a notebook. Across from them, their dad was at the counter, making breakfast the way he always did. Not fast, not loud, like the world had agreed to wait for him. You're going to dent the table, Dad said, without looking up. Rowan stopped tapping. It's not my fault the table is flimsy. It's not flimsy, it's... He paused, searching for the word, then smirked. Vintage. Rowan made a face. It's plywood from a garage sale. Dad set a plate down in front of Rowan. Eggs, toast, sliced apple, everything arranged neatly, like he drafted it in a blueprint. You don't have to make it pretty, Rowan said. Dad leaned a hip against the counter, arms folded. I do, it's a compulsion. Rowan knew that was half a joke. Their dad was an architect by training, and even though he'd shifted into accessibility design years ago, ramps, wider doorways, bathrooms, that didn't treat bodies like inconveniences. He still couldn't look at a crooked picture frame without fixing it. Mom came in from the hallway, tying her hair back, already dressed in scrubs. Her badge swung from the pocket like a tiny pendulum. Morning, kiddo, she said, leaning to kiss the top of Rowan's head. Her lips smelled like peppermint gum and the faint sharpness of the hospital soap. You sleep okay? Rowan shrugged. Fine. Mom's eyes narrowed gently, like she was reading the shrug for subtext. Fine like fine, or fine like you're up until 2 rewriting the disaster evacuation plan for your English class again. Rowan's mouth twitched. It's not a disaster plan, it's a contingency plan. That's what disaster plans call themselves, to feel better, Dad said. Rowan stabbed an apple slice with their fork. People act like emergencies are rare. They're not. They just keep happening in new outfits. Mom's badge beeped when she checked her phone, and her expression tightened. Okay, she said softly, that's strange. What? Rowan asked. Mom turned the phone toward Dad. There were multiple notifications stacked like warning labels. Emergency, alert, stay indoors, avoid windows, emergency alert, unknown aerial phenomenon. Emergency, alert, await further instructions. Rowan stared at the screen. Their stomach didn't drop so much as it paused, like their body had hit a buffering symbol. Dad took the phone, frowning. Is this some kind of drill? We don't do drills at 6:30, Mom said, not with this wording. Outside, a gull shrieked, sharp and panicked, and then another. They sounded different. Higher, frantic, like they'd seen something that didn't fit in their world. Rowan turned their head toward the window. The sky was still gray. but the gray had a seam in it. A line, faint at first, like a scratch on a screen. Then it spread. The clouds parted with a slow, unnatural smoothness, as if something behind them was pushing, but carefully, like it didn't want to tear anything. Rowan's tea rattled in the mug. Dad's hand had gone still on the phone. Mom whispered, "Oh my God." Something immense hung above the town. Not a plane, not a helicopter, not anything Rowan could name in the language they'd grown up using for sky things. It wasn't shaped like a saucer the way old movies promised, and it didn't glow neon green. It didn't flash. It was quiet. A long, angular presence, darker than the clouds behind it, like a shadow had decided to become a physical object and take up space. Rowan's brain started trying to measure it. Distance, altitude, size. It didn't compute. It made the town feel like a toy set. Then the object moved. Not fast, not in a way that disturbed the air. It just shifted. And all the gulls went silent at once. A low vibration rolled through the house. Not sound exactly, more like pressure. The kind you felt on your skin when a big storm was coming and the air grew heavy with warning. Rowan pushed their chair back. The legs scraped loudly in the sudden quiet. Mom was already moving. She grabbed her keys, her bag, her coat. "I have to..." "You don't," Dad said, voice tight. "They told you to stay indoors." Mom looked at him like he suggested she stop breathing. "I'm on shift. The hospital." "People will be panicking," Dad said. "The roads. People will be hurt." Mom snapped, and then she took a breath, softer. I can't not go." Rowan watched them, the familiar tug-of-war responsibility and fear. Their parents were both the kind of people who ran toward problems. Rowan had always admired it. Today it scared them. A new sound rose outside. Voices. Shouts. Doors slamming. Cars starting. Rowan rolled their chair slightly closer to the window, careful not to jostle the mug. The street was alive with motion. Neighbors standing in the driveways. Someone pointing up. Someone else pulling a child back inside. Then the loudspeakers began. At first, Rowan thought it was an emergency siren, but it wasn't a siren, it was a speech. The words weren't in English, and yet Rowan understood them. Not the exact language. Rowan was certain it wasn't English, Spanish, French, anything recognizable. The syllables folded over each other in a smooth pattern, like music with consonants, but the meaning slid into Rowan's mind as if their brain had been prepared for it. A translation without consent. A voice neither male nor female, neither young nor old, spoke from everywhere at once. "People of Earth, do not fear." Rowan's throat tightened. That's not possible. Mom froze with her hand on the doorknob. Did you hear that in your head?" Dad looked pale. "I think everyone did." The voice continued, calm as tidewater. "We have come to preserve your species." The sentence was so gentle it made Rowan want to throw something. Outside, someone screamed. Then another voice joined in. This one smaller, sharper, like a commentator interrupting a broadcast. "Preserve?" It snapped. "Like food?" The first voice didn't react to the interruption. "We have observed your world for a long cycle. We have seen your suffering. We have seen your inequality. We have seen your obsession with that which you call perfection." Rowan's pulse hammered in their ears. Dad stepped between Rowan and the window without thinking, protective instinct moving faster than logic. The voice softened further, like it was trying to soothe a frightened animal. "Today, the sky will choose." Rowan stared at the shape above the town. No, they whispered. "No one gets to choose like that." Mom's phone buzzed again. A message from the hospital, another alert. Dad's phone chimed, a group text from his work. People were writing in all caps. People were sending shaky videos of the sky. Rowan's own phone buzzed, and when they looked, the screen was full of messages from classmates. "Do you see it? What is happening? Is this a prank? My dad says stay in the basement." Then a new alert appeared across all the screens at once, overriding everything. "Assessment in progress." A hum ran through the house again, deeper this time. Rowan felt it in their teeth. Dad rubbed his temple. Assessment of what? The answer came instantly. We will relocate those among you who meet stability standards. Rowan's stomach twisted. Stability standards? Mom's hand tightened around her keys. What does that mean? Outside, a beam of light dropped from the ship. It wasn't a spotlight. It wasn't a laser. It didn't shine so much as fold the air into the brightness. The beam touched the ground at the center of town, right where the park met the main street. People stumbled back from it. Some ran. Then the beam spread, widening, stretching across blocks like a curtain being drawn. The voice continued, "Do not resist. Do not hide. You cannot be harmed by compliance." Rowan's heart pounded so hard it made their hands shake. Dad's voice came out rough. "This is kidnapping." Mom whispered, This is an invasion." Rowan couldn't look away. The beam moved with a slow certainty, sweeping over people as it passed. When the light touched a man, he froze. His body went still, perfectly upright, like the beam had turned him into a statue for half a second. Then he rose. Not lifted like a puppet, and not yanked. He rose as if gravity had politely let go. He floated into the air, eyes wide, mouth open but soundless. Someone ran toward him and grabbed his arm, trying to pull him down. The second person screamed as the light touched them, and nothing happened. They stumbled, still on the ground, sobbing, staring up as the first man continued to rise. Rowan's breath caught. It didn't take her. Dad's voice went thin. Why not? Across the street, a teenage boy, Rowan recognized him vaguely. One of the track kids was hit by the light. He rose instantly. No struggle, no delay. It was like the beam had been waiting for him. A girl beside him grabbed at his hoodie, crying, and the light brushed her shoulder. She didn't rise. She dropped to her knees as if her legs had given out. The boy looked down at her, terrified. Then he was pulled upward, swallowed into the brightness, gone. Rowan's hand curled into fists. This isn't random. Mom's face had gone very still, the way it did when something terrible at the hospital, and she had to become calm enough to handle it. It's selecting, she said. It's sorting. The voice spoke again like it was explaining something kind. Those who meet your world's idealized standard, those whose bodies and minds are most compatible with stability, will be relocated. Rowan felt cold bloom under their skin. Compatible with stability? Rowan looked down at their own legs, at the braces that made walking possible, at the wheels of their chair tucked under the table. The world had never called Rowan stable. It called Rowan difficult. It called Rowan special needs. It called Rowan a liability during field trips. Mom's gaze flicked to Rowan, quick and fierce, and Rowan knew she was thinking the same thing. Dad's jaw clenched. They're taking the people society calls, what, normal? Rowan swallowed. The word normal tasted like metal. On the street, more people rose. Not everyone, not even most, but enough that the air began to fill with bodies, floating silhouettes drifting upward, arms reaching toward the ground, like they could grab their lives back if they only tried hard enough. Screams rose from the town. Dogs barked. Car alarms blared. The beam continued its sweep. Rowan's phone buzzed again. A message from a classmate, Kelsey, who always had perfect hair and perfect grades and a smile that seemed trained. I'm scared. If they take me, tell my mom I love her. Rowan stared at the message, throat tight. And then another message. This one from June Knox, the girl who always doodled on her notebooks and talked too fast and got told she was distracting. Rowan, it didn't touch me. It hit me and nothing. What does that mean? Rowan didn't know the answer. Rowan didn't know how to answer, sorry. Dad stepped back from the window as if the sight had finally hit him and he needed space to breathe. We should go to the basement. Mom shook her head. If it's scanning, hiding might not matter. The voice continued, still calm, still gentle, which somehow made it worse. You have been divided by your own standards. We will preserve those standards. We will preserve those who fit. Rowan's skin prickled with anger so sharp it almost made them dizzy. Preserve those standards, Rowan repeated. Like our standards are our law? Dad's voice broke. Rowan turned toward him. It's taking the people who get treated like they belong. Mom's eyes were wet, but her voice was steady. We don't know that. Rowan gestured toward the window. We do. Outside, a woman in a power chair was crying, hands gripping her armrests. The beam slid over her. Nothing happened. She screamed anyway, not because she was being taken, because everyone around her was. A man beside her, standing athletic, wearing a crisp suit, was touched by the light and lifted like he weighed nothing at all. The woman reached up as if she could grab his ankle and anchor him. He looked down at her with horror and something else. Something like guilt. And then he was gone. Rowan's throat tightened around a bitter laugh. Of course. Dad's face crumpled. He looked like he wanted to punch the sky. The beam approached their house. Rowan could tell by the angle, by the sweep pattern. It moved in a broad spiral, as if it was mapping the town in rings. Rowan's heart hammered. Fear and fury twisted together in their chest. Mom's voice went quiet. Rowan, come away from the window. Rowan wanted to refuse, wanted to watch, wanted to document it in their notebook like evidence that the universe had finally confirmed what society had been whispering all along. But when the light reached the edge of their driveway, Rowan's body reacted before their mind could argue. They rolled back from their window, wheels whispering against the kitchen floor. Dad moved with them. One hand on the back of the chair, not pushing, just there, like he could hold Rowan in place against the pull of the world. The light touched the front yard. The air changed. It was warmer inside the beam, like standing under a heat lamp. Rowan could feel it through the walls, the way you could feel sunlight even with your eyes closed. The voice spoke again, quieter now, intimate as a whisper. Assessment complete. Selection continues. Rowan's mouth went dry. Dad's hand tightened on the chair. Mom stood between Rowan and the front door, as if her body could block the sky. Then, for a moment, the beam brushed the kitchen window. Light spilled through the glass. Rowan felt it touch their skin. It wasn't painful. It wasn't cold. It was attentive, like being looked at by something that didn't know how to see. Rowan's muscles tensed, waiting for the lift, the pull, the sudden loss of gravity. Nothing happened. Rowan stayed exactly where they were. The beam moved on. Dad let out a breath that sounded like a sob. He swallowed. Okay, he whispered. Okay. Mom's hand flew to her mouth. She was crying openly now, but her eyes were sharp, scanning the room, scanning Rowan as if she was checking for damage. Rowan stared at their hands. They were still here. They weren't chosen. The relief should have been immediate. It wasn't. Outside, someone shouted Rowan's name. Rowan rolled back toward the window, ignoring Mom's quiet protest. Across the street, June Knox was standing in the middle of the road in pajama pants and a hoodie, hair wild, phone in hand. She was yelling up at the sky like it had personally insulted her. Hey, June shouted. Excuse me. You missed me. The beam swept past her. June threw her hands up. Rude! Rowan's throat tightened, half laugh, half cry. Then Rowan saw the thing that made their stomach drop. At the end of the street, a small group of kids were gathered. Rowan recognized Kelsey, a perfect ponytail, even in panic, and two other classmates who always looked like they belonged in magazine ads. The beam reached them. They rose, all at once, like the sky had made up its mind. Kelsey's phone fell from her hand and clattered on the pavement. Her eyes locked onto the street, onto her house, onto the world she was leaving. She tried to scream, but the sound didn't come out right, like the air was thick around her. Someone, her mom, Rowan thought, ran out of their house and grabbed at her daughter's legs, sobbing, begging. Kelsey looked down, tears streaming sideways as she floated, hair lifting around her face like she was underwater. Then she vanished into the brightness. The woman collapsed on the street. June stopped yelling. Her face went pale. All humor stripped away. Rowan's chest ached. Dad's voice was raw. We have to do something. Mom's gaze snapped to him. Like what? Dad had no answer. His hands curled into fists. Rowan watched the sky, watched the ship hang there like a verdict. The voice returned, calm as ever. You will recover. Those who remain will find stability in absence. Rowan whispered, We won't. Mom looked at Rowan, eyes shining. Rowan? Rowan's voice shook with anger. We won't recover because this isn't mercy. It's a message. Dad swallowed. What message? Rowan stared out at the street where the woman still knelt empty-armed, and at the places in the air where people had been. Rowan thought of every time someone had called them inspiring, as if survival were a performance. Every time someone had assumed Rowan needed help, when what Rowan needed was access. Every time someone had made Rowan's worth feel conditional, like it only counted if Rowan smiled politely and didn't make anyone uncomfortable. Rowan's hands gripped the edge of the windowsill. It's telling us, Rowan said, voice low, that the sky believes what the world already does. Mom's throat worked. She looked away, blinking hard. Outside, sirens began. Not from the ship, from Earth, from humans trying to pretend this was something humans could solve. Rowan's phone buzzed again. New messages, frantic and broken. From June. Rowan, what do we do? From a class group chat. They took Coach Martinez. From someone Rowan didn't know well. Why didn't it take me? Why didn't it take me? Rowan stared at the screen until the letters blurred. Then another notification appeared, cutting through the chaos. Not a text, not an alert. A single line, plain and cold, as it had been typed by a system that didn't care if Rowan understood. Remaining population non-compatible. Rowan's breath caught. Dad saw it over Rowan's shoulder, and his face went white with rage. Mom's voice was barely a whisper. Non-compatible? The ship above the town shifted again. The beam widened, not selecting now, sweeping, as if it was finishing a task. Rowan looked out at the street one more time. June was still there, staring at the sky like she wanted to challenge it to a fight. The woman who'd lost her daughter was still kneeling, rocking back and forth like her body hadn't gotten the memo that the world had changed. And in the midst of it, Rowan saw something else. The people who didn't rise. The people left standing. A boy with noise-canceling headphones pressed tight over his ears, shaking but steady on his feet. A man with a cane, jaw clenched. A teenage girl with a service dog, holding the harness like it was an anchor. A kid with an oxygen tank rolling beside them like a stubborn companion. A scattered constellation of humans the world had never built itself around. The ones who always had to adapt. Rowan's fear didn't vanish, but something else flickered in its place. A thought that felt dangerous in its own way. If the sky had chosen, then the sky had made a mistake. Rowan's hands stopped shaking. He turned away from the window and looked at their parents. Dad's eyes were wet, jaw tight, trying to hold himself together by sheer force. Mom wiped her face with the back of her wrist like she couldn't afford the time to cry. Rowan's voice came out steady, surprising even them. We're not going to wait for someone to fix this, Rowan said. Dad blinked. Rowan? Rowan continued. Words gathered speed like a storm finding its wind. The people who got taken, some of them were awful, some of them were kind, and some of them never noticed people like us existed. But they're still people, and the thing in the sky thinks it can rank humans like a list, like a product. Rowan's chest rose and fell hard. We're going to prove it wrong. Mom stared at Rowan, something fierce and proud and terrified crossing her face. Dad's voice cracked. How? Rowan looked down at their notebook on the table, at the pen still waiting, at the plans they made for emergencies that no one took seriously until it was too late. Rowan looked back out at the sky, at the ship, at the beams, at the people left behind. I don't know yet, Rowan said honestly, then quieter with something like a vow. But we start by finding each other. Outside, the voice spoke one last time, like a lullaby to a burning world. Do not fear. Your world will become quieter. Rowan's eyes hardened. No, Rowan whispered, it won't. And somewhere above the clouds, the ship began to move, slowly turning its massive body toward the open ocean, toward the horizon, toward whatever waited beyond Earth, as if it believed the story was already over. Rowan reached for their phone and typed a message into the group chat June had created, already filling with frantic names and panicked questions. Meet at the library. Bring who you trust. Bring water. Bring chargers. We're not done. They hit send. The day the sky chose wasn't the end. It was the beginning. And that is the end of chapter 1 from my book, The Imperfects. And I hope you enjoyed that chapter. And you can get this on Amazon. I have it listed online Amazon for sale. And thank you for watching my little video of the first chapter of my story, The Imperfects. And thank you very much. Bye.